Much more importantly than that, many of those students have gone on to getting an affordable college education. A+ students can then go on to obtain a 4-year degree at one of our outstanding public universities, or enter the workplace with a certification after 2 years at our community colleges and do so debt-free. In fact, in this past January, I pledged in my State of the State address that we would expand our A+ scholarship program to every public high school in the state that wanted to earn it, so that every qualified student in the state had the opportunity to go to community college tuition-free. This spring, the legislature stepped up in a bipartisan way and approved that funding. I thank your representative, Representative Rowland, for his constant and consistent leadership for public education and support not only for the A+, but for this school district and others around the state. He plays a unique and important leadership role as a former superintendent in the legislature, and I appreciate his strong support for public education. But today, as we sit here today, 99% now of high school students in the state, they work hard, play by the rules, and give back to their communities, can be eligible for those A+ scholarships. In other words, in my first term, we added 266 more schools. It's a tremendous milestone in our efforts to put a college education within reach for more families. And after my education, I can count between 99 and 100, and hopefully the next time I'm back here at Gainesville, we're going to turn 99 into 100. I've got 2 schools left, and I'm working on making sure. I'm not going to call them out here in southern Missouri today, but I'm going to, it's somewhat annoying to be at 99 on anything. It's time to get going. But we're not going to stop until we get to 100. Okay. Now, that's why also my budget for this fiscal year included $100 million additional dollars for our K-12 classrooms. In other words, as we came through 2009 and 2012, we saw the economic downturn that hit everybody hard. During that time frame, we had to make a lot of decisions, as this district had to. At a state level, we had to take almost $1.8 billion out of the budget. I had to downsize your state government by 4,500 folks. But at the same time, we made and continue to make investments in our schools. Some states decided to cut education. 25 states cut it over 5%. Some states decided to raise taxes. 40 states did that. Instead of either one of those things, what we did is work together, balance your budget, and provide an excellent opportunity for students. And now that we see the economy beginning, the shades of coming back, and we have additional resources available, what our goal is to take those additional resources and invest them in the best place possible to make the biggest difference for the future economy of our state, and that's the K-12 community college and higher education system in the state of Missouri. Education is the best economic development tool there is. When I was a kid going to school in DeSoto, the competition I had was with kids in Jefferson County. Maybe on the weekends we had to go play Hercule Festus in some particular sport, but it was a local competition. When I went to the University of Missouri, the competition there was basically for students at the school or people from the Midwest. And then when I went back home, the competition was for folks in Missouri that did what I did. That is not the economy that you students are going to step into. The economy you're going to step into is a world economy, in which the competition you are in, whether you're in Gainesville, Missouri, or Gainesville, Florida, or Paris, France, or Beijing, is all a level playing field of competition. Yesterday morning, I started my day in Troy, Missouri, up in Lincoln County. The reason I was there was Toyota was making a multi-million-dollar investment in a factory there that makes aluminum parts for engines. Toyota could invest those dollars anywhere in the world. But we have better engineers, safer workers, more productive workforce, low tax system, and a good education system and community college system working with them to make sure the training would be competitive. So anywhere in the world, they chose Missouri. When I was over in Kansas City a few weeks ago with a company who's building a $45 million facility, put it anywhere in the world, where did they choose? Missouri. And it certainly wasn't because of my stunning personality. Okay? It was because we can deliver Missourians that show up early, work hard, and are willing to compete every day. And that we have an education system that can deliver. So, this Gainesville School District is an outstanding example of what is possible when talented teachers, dedicated administrators, and sensible policies come together to help students succeed. In fact, this year the Gainesville School District scored an impressive 91% in its latest annual performance report, including very high scores in the language arts, math, and science standards. That's on top of your district being consistently above the state average for attendance, graduation rates, and percentage of graduates who go on to college or technical schools. Quite frankly, for the young folks here in the A+ program and the students here, you can get what you need to compete in the world, because this community has said they're going to be excellent. A strong network of community and state support helps the local public schools provide the outstanding education that all Missouri students need and deserve. And none of that would be possible without the commitment and dedication of the Missourians who chose to make education their profession. Missouri's public school teachers have answered a call to make communities and our state stronger and more prosperous for generations to come. The First Lady and I and 6 million Missourians value your contribution to our state, and thank you for your tireless commitment. We're also joined today by members of your school board. I'd like to thank your school board for recently speaking up about the need to protect education funding by going forward. They stood up for this school and this community, and they deserve our strong support. I appreciate them stepping with us on the issues involved with 253, which I believe is the wrong policy for the state. I'll take questions if there are about that, but I just think that in this state, public education is a value, and we need to share that value and improve it. So, congratulations to everyone here in the Gainesville School District on your continued academic success. To the teachers, I promise you that as you invest your time and talents here in the classroom, my administration will make sure we're doing everything we can back at the Capitol to invest in you, your students, and your work. And to the students, keep up the good work. Competing and winning in the global economy starts with education that you're getting right here. And if you keep your grades up and keep working hard, I promise we will work just as hard in the state capitol to make sure you have the resources to get that job done. So it is an honor for us to be here. I'll now take any questions that the press or anybody else may have. Anybody? Yes, sir.
Could you please explain House Bill 253 and why you are against it for those that might not know?
Right. I think House Bill 253 is a misguided policy for the state for two significant reasons. Number one, it raises taxes on prescription drugs, a $200 million tax increase on Missourians they don't need. Another tax increase in the bill is to reinstate the sales tax on college textbooks. We don't need to have college be more expensive by charging kids more for textbooks when they go to college. So the taxation part of this bill is just wrong. Those are two parts of the economy that we need to keep the taxes low on and need to move forward. The other side of the bill, it indiscriminately slashes other portions of the tax code and would leave us unable to meet our commitments for public education and higher education. Taking $800 million a year out of the state budget would mean up to $260 to $400 million out of K through 12 education. The School Administrators Association requested a run for that. This district could lose $300,000 to $400,000 a year in their budgets. Quite frankly, I don't think that's the way that we're going to win the future. I think we have a responsibility in Jeff City to not to cut funding to K through 12 education, but to work forward to try to get that formula funded so that schools can make the long-term decisions they want. I do think it's interesting that this entire campaign for 253 is being funded by one guy. Okay, one guy wrote $2.5 million checks. All those ads, all that stuff, everything going on, one guy. He's a guy that believes in what they call vouchers. I mean, he tried to get the legislature to pass vouchers a few years ago, which is to say you should take public money and give it to private schools. And I just don't believe it. I think private schools are fine. You can have them out there, but that's private, and they should be paid for privately. That same fellow's now coming back, since he didn't win on that one, trying to starve public schools, and I think that's wrong. We're gaining momentum. I'm very hopeful that the veto that I made will be sustained. I thank your local representative for his solid comments in these areas. As a former school superintendent, he's been one of the leaders around the state that has stood strong, and his support is greatly appreciated and will be vital. Your former representative in this area, Maynard Wallace, has also been very vocal and very strong in his positions on this. So that's kind of the bill. I mean, you can go through more complicated, but I think it's bad policy for those two reasons, and I think a number of folks are seeing that. I was in Kirksville 2 nights ago. Had a meeting, something like this, about 200 people. We're having these town meetings in the evening, talk about 253. There were about 200 people in Kirksville there at the end of the meeting. The local representative, a Republican, who voted for the bill, made everybody stop for a second, came up to the front of the room, walked across, shook my hand, said, "Governor, I'm with you. I voted for the bill. I'm going to be with you. I'm going to vote with you. I'm not going to vote to override you. You're right." And shook my hand in front of 200 people in his district. So I think we're making a little bit of progress, but we need to finish this, and the veto session on September 3rd, September 11th is very important. Another question, yeah.
Can you explain, especially for the students here, what happens when you veto the bill, what the process is in government?
Yeah, I mean, what I want the process, what
well,
I'd like to veto everybody.
Just how it works.
Wow, good job. No. Yeah, that's good. We'll get a little civics lesson.
Yeah, a little civics lesson.
Okay, the legislature meets, and we have 163 in the House, 34 in the Senate. representing all parts of the state. They pass legislation, it gets to the governor. The legislative session ends in the second week in May. And then we begin the bill review process. My policy director is here who leads that, Jeff Harris. And we review those bills. I then have the choice whether to sign the bill and make it become law, or actually Missouri has a pocket sign, if you don't sign it, it becomes law, or to veto it. And if you veto it, you issue a veto statement with it as to what your reasons are for vetoing it. And then we have what's called the veto session in that second week of September, where the legislature comes back and they have the opportunity, and if 2/3 of the legislature votes to override me, then the bill will become law. So the thing, the policy thing we're talking about is 253 was passed. It did not have 2/3 when it passed, okay? It only had 103 of the votes. It didn't have 2/3. But the Speaker of the House has said that he wants to try to override me, and they're busily trying to do that. But if they get 2/3, then that bill becomes law. If they don't get 2/3, then my veto stands, and we move forward. The legislature then comes back again in January on issues like this, and we start again to look at what bills could be passed. So each year, the legislature meets from January to mid-May. Just to add one other detail of some social studies, last for extra credit question, the budget has to be done by the first Friday in May, and the legislative session ends the second Friday in May. Actually the second Friday after the first Monday, but that's the second Friday in May. The reason I say that is, we take this fiscal stuff real important as a state. We're what's called a AAA state, AAA state. Okay, what happens is whenever you have bonds or you're seeking to get money, remember you guys in this community, if you have a bond issue to build a new building or buy some property or do something, then that money is borrowed and paid back over a period of time. How much interest you pay on that directly relates to the fiscal discipline of your state. Okay, and our state, Missouri, we have the highest rating of anybody. We're one of the few states with what's called triple. So we have a AAA credit rating from all three rating agencies, Fitch's, Moody's, and Standard & Poor's. The reason I mention that is that one of the problems with this bill is it could imperil that AAA credit rating. The three rating agencies have all said that if I'm overridden on 253, they're going to come back and have to look at our credit rating for a potential downgrade, which would have a direct effect over y'all here because your bond ratings come off the state. And for every $10 million that is borrowed, an additional $900,000 in interest for every 1/3 of a point less that you have. Consequently, the AAA and the discipline's right. I mention that because we get our budget down on time. We're very fiscally disciplined about that, just like this district is. And it's exceedingly important. Another reason why I have serious problems with 253. I mean, we've had AAA credit rating for 46 years. It's not about being Democrat or Republican. It's about working together. And to imperil that for one fiscal experiment here, and to underfund education, and to raise taxes on seniors and college students, I think it's profoundly the wrong policy for the state, and that's why I've been traveling around the state talking in public forums about it. Anybody else? Yes, sir?
Veto session, like you said, is coming up here in just a little bit. What do you see being overridden that you vetoed, and what do you see not being overridden?
I would ask every member of the legislature to take the time as they came to the Capitol for the veto session to read each one of our veto letters. Maybe it's me, but I think they're exceptionally well drafted. But anyway, well, I mean, we have reasons. I mean, I served in the legislature, folks. I served for 6 years. It gets very busy at the end. I mean, in the last 2 weeks, there's all kinds of bills flying all over the place. There's substitutes for this and all that sort of stuff. It gets really hard. I don't think you have time to read everything. But in the bill review process, I guarantee you, we read everything. I guarantee we study it real closely, because when my pen, if I sign that, it goes from being a bill to being the law of the land. Okay, we take that extremely seriously. And the 29 bills I vetoed this year, I think we had solid reasons on each of those. I think the primary amount of attention will be on this bill, which I think we're making, as I said before, serious progress on. There are a couple other bills, but I feel good as we come into the veto session that as the legislators begin to get their heads back around this, that faced with the problems that were in the various pieces of legislation, coupled with the opportunity to come back in January and find common ground in these areas, that we're going to be just fine. We got to keep moving today, because we've got to be over to Farmington. But let me just conclude by once again saying to the students, we want to have a very challenging curriculum for you, and I'll tell you your school, the school work that you do in the challenge, it's better than the school we adults went to. It's more challenging, it's more technologically adept, we expect more out of you, and this community has decided to step up in a significant way. So the First Lady and I are very proud to be here today to note your high scores on all these tests and to talk to you individually about how education is the best way for a path of independence forward. Thank you all very much.